This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, the Glick, how are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing just fine, the John. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully everything's going good. And what are you going to be talking about tonight?
Well, tonight is something that it's a frequent well that I come back to for this podcast over the years because it's like I am like in the tank for the X-Men. It's like I'll just come back and talk to them talk about them whenever like a major event happens. It's like from all the way back to like Messiah Complex. It's like to like the present day, like with House of X and Powers of X and Ten of Swords. It's like, and also it's like in recent memory, it's like, hey, it's like I've also like want to bring in my buddy of mine who's also like very knowledgeable and very opinionated about X-Men stuff. It's like my buddy Rob. Hey Rob, how you doing?
Hey Jason, I'm doing pretty well. I guess you just said how you were doing, so I don't need to ask that.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you back because like now we are going into like the post Ten of Swords era because this is like that was a big event that basically like advanced like the story that Jonathan Hickman was telling. It's like for the overall X-Men line by just, and it had some major consequences. Basically, writing out Apocalypse, like for his own personal reasons, but also bringing in like millions of other mutants like the Adraco, it's like island and world mutants. It's like and it's like this. It's like and there's a lot of stuff that happened like in between like like the fact that the various X-Men series like between this event and it's like I only read some of them really. It's like I read X-Men, I read Marauders, it's like I read it's like Hellions, it's like and I also kept up with Wolverine and it's like an X-Force. Hickman's work on X-Men was just continue to be like the same kind of like like short story stuff that he just figured like you're all gonna keep buying X-Men, so I'm just gonna like just use it as a vehicle to tell like the short stories I was telling. And only it's like the first issue after Ten of Swords, basically kind of picked up on that. It's like and it's like and that was kind of it's like and that was fun, but there was also like like others like let's see other bits that involve like Sync, Darwin and Wolverine or Laura Kinney, like just like exploring the like the children like the Vault storyline. And I realized if I'm going to like go into all of these things, it's like in detail, it's going to like stretch this like podcast out to a couple hours. But I will say that I've liked Hickman's work on X-Men like since Ten of Swords. It's like and on one hand, it's like I think it's kind of disappointing that he's leaving, but at the same time, it's like at least he seems to be leaving in a way that's going to be wrapping things up. So there's that. Marauders, on the other hand, it's like it's still good fun, but the intervening issues are basically like kind of like establish like a formula more than anything else. Basically, just just showing what and what the team is going to do is like in like in between missions, and like there wasn't a specific like storyline between them. And but Hellions, however, it's like did a good job of like telling like specific stories that use the ideas of like, hey, it's like what do the mutants do when they encounter like AIs, and also what is Sinister's plan like for this, and also how's he going to react to Arcade yanking out his teeth for certain storylines. That was a lot of fun. It's like, and if I'm being completely honest, Hellions is probably my secret favorite X-Men title, but also I kept up with like X-Force and Wolverine, both written by Benjamin Percy. And it's like both are fine. It's like X-Force, it's like he seems to have like Percy seems to have like an interest in like like how many times like Quentin Quire dies like for his storyline. But I don't know, it's kind of storyline that it storylines that he was doing were just seemed to be kind of like all right. I mean, not anything like really like special or interesting, even though it's like we do come back to the it's like the Terra Verde story where it's like the it's like where Beast secretly is mind controlling the and people running that country. It's like through their telefloronics, and his Wolverine stuff. Well, it's like it's fine, but I can't say that it's like any of this stuff so far is going to be like like all-time best Wolverine like story. I mean, sure, it's interesting to see him bring back Maverick, but overall, it's like I just couldn't really get into it to the point where I want to buy this thing as opposed to read it on Marvel Unlimited. Which I will point out that a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about is readily available on Marvel Unlimited right now, as opposed to like being bought on like bought by like conventional retailers. But Rob, so do you have any thoughts on like all the stuff that's going on in between Ten of Swords and the current Hellfire Gala event?
Yeah, so I mean, I read all of that because I don't like to jump to events without having everything that led up to it. But I probably should say that I feel like people who want to read Hellfire Gala and don't really would rather skip that stuff, you probably can skip that stuff. I mean, there are questions you might have, like at the end of Ten of Swords, Captain Britain, Betsy Braddock, was turned into stained glass and shattered, and so what happened there? And well, she shows up in the Hellfire Gala. So if you want to know what happened to her and how she came back, then you got to read Excalibur. Which Excalibur I've always had a soft spot for because it was my favorite comic when I was young. X-Men was a very close second, but Excalibur was my favorite. Difficult to have the same level of love for it because none of the same characters are in this, although sometimes they show up tangentially. And the whole concept, obviously Betsy is Brian's sister, so he's in it a bit and everything. But
and one of your most hated X-Men characters is also like
two of my two most hated X-Men characters, Jubilee and Gambit, are in the comic. And fortunately, I don't have to deal with Jubilee that much. She's not in it. She's not that prominent. Gambit, not that prominent either. The main characters, at least in this period, seem to be, obviously Betsy, and a little Rogue, and I don't know. I guess there's just so many characters that it's not that big of a deal. Richter plays a pretty big role. I don't want to focus too much on this because I know you don't want to spend too much time on it. But I enjoyed reading Excalibur just because I like Betsy, and I wanted to see if she would come back, and they were able to get her back, and I like that story. I don't know if you want me to talk about specifics or just to move on to other stuff.
The fact that you said you like this series in spite of the fact that both Gambit and Jubilee in it probably speaks a lot. It's like as it is. So
I mean, I don't know. I guess because it was focused on Betsy, that probably made it easier for me. In terms of what's written better, what's more entertaining in general. You're probably right about Hellions. Hellions is it's very interesting.
Because it's all about like the bad seeds, the people who would never see on a proper X-Men team.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes, and you're always wondering, what is Sinister planning? What are his goals, and how are the others going to figure out what he's doing? That's a big deal.
I think the reason they keep they keep Sinister on the Quiet Council is just more of a keep your enemies close type deal. It's like they know the Sinister is always up to something bad. Well, they just need to keep him we just need to keep him on a tight leash just so we can figure out what he's doing, and when his plans are finally revealed, how we can stop him quickly enough.
Well, that, and they want his genetic database. That's important. If they need to bring back dead mutants, they need his genetic database. I did want to talk about some of the other comics. Like Marauders during that period deals with the Shaw killed Kate Pryde. Kate is back. We still don't know. I think, unless you can refresh my memory to this, I think we still don't know why Krakoa did not let Kate go through the Gates. We know she's a mutant because she was able to be brought back.
I think it basically it's down to her like phasing ability. It's something that just does not play well with how Krakoa's gates function.
Okay.
I'm saying that because that's also kind of like one of the reasons why she wasn't able to be resurrected right away. So it's just it's just the way she interacts with matter. It's like that's I think that's the main reason we're meant to assume that she wasn't able to pass through the gates, because hey, she was able to come back, and yeah, it's like the bit with like dealing with the Shaw was like one of the strongest parts of like the most recent volume. It's like it was fun seeing her like spew liquor onto the fire and say, hey, guess who I am? I'm Lockheed.
She was a little out of control there. So, and I should say that growing up, she was my favorite character, which is one of the reasons why Excalibur was my favorite comic, is because, I was 13 when I was reading it. She was, I think, I was 13 to 14. I think she was 14 for most of it, but then she had 2 15th birthdays.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So, she was into computers, and she didn't, she was unsure of herself and stuff. And so I saw a lot of myself in her, so I think that's why she was my favorite. So I love seeing her in any comics that's going to have her in it. I'm going to be somewhat interested in. I want to comment on some of the other ones. X-Force, you said that deals with Quentin Quire. I've never been a big fan of Quentin Quire. I did read it. I don't really care about what's going on in it, so I don't want to spend any time on it. Yeah, I just don't like him. Yeah. The New Mutants has a storyline involving some new Mutants that the old New Mutants are trying to kind of teach, and they're dealing with an old New Mutants enemy, Amal Farouk, the Shadow King, which it's interesting to see him again. And wonder how is he going to come into play. It's always interesting to say, hey, well, look, they brought back the Shadow King, or maybe he never died in the first place. But how does he fit into Krakoa? What are his goals? We still don't know. Hopefully, we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, also, I do want to talk about a bit about Sword, because I really enjoyed that. And it's like I don't think I'm gonna get to my review of that volume before we post this, but I will say that I do think this is a fantastic first volume, and I really like to see where they're going from here. In fact, I hope this lasts longer, because Rob, did you read the first issues for this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so who's writing it, right?
I did not pay attention to who was. Oh yes, it's Al Ewing, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so. I did want to say that one thing that I really like about this whole run, the whole Hickman thing, is that they're getting really creative, and it's amazing that people didn't really think about it much before, beyond the Fastball special. The whole idea of mutant circuits.
Yes.
They're doing some cool things with that. I mean, yeah, we have the 5 for their whole resurrection thing. But in this one, they have some different ideas, and I think they did another mutant circuit in a different comic that I've totally forgotten which, because it's kind of blending together now. But yeah, I think that concept is cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, and also it's like if you're reading Ewing's Guardians of the Galaxy, which you should, even though it's over now, which is sad. He did a lot of stuff in the cosmic sphere for Marvel, that he's apparently gonna be importing plot lines from that series over to this one as well, which I hope has a nice long run. It's as part of the X-Men, as part of its X-Men adjacent nature to it. So this was the first 5 issues were a lot of fun, and then the issue that we're gonna be talking about for Hellfire Gala is also very pivotal as well. But I guess with all this talk about the Hellfire Gala, well, I guess you probably actually get to talk about the event itself, and that kicks off with Marauders number 21, which, and I will point out that as far as like being able to read this, you can read all these issues now on Marvel Unlimited, and there's going to be there are going to be 2 collections for this series. One is just going to be like the Hellfire Gala, which is going to be like a soft cover, and it will collect like the relevant issues of Marauders, X-Men, planet-sized X-Men, and also Sword, because those are all like the most key issues to the event itself. Though I would also argue that X Factor 10 deserves a spot there as well. Then there's the Hellfire Gala Red Carpet Edition, which is like the edition that I will be chilling out for at some point, which collects all of the issues that have a Hellfire Gala branding. To that end, that's what we're talking about, because Marauders, the issues of Marauders is the one that was published first, and as far as like reading orders go, you want to read these in the order they were published, like for the issue of the order of publication, starting with Marauders, which basically has, because like this is basically like Emma Frost's baby. It's like she wanted like to have hostess Gala to show off the power of mutantdom, and it's like in the first and Marauders does a good job of like starting that off, just showing the start of things. It's like showing that how it's going to be like, all sorts of like world powers. It's like, people like representing like all these different nations, and just like showing them what that this is originally going to be like a fancy carpet type, like a red carpet type deal, but also like it's also going to be following up on certain events. In fact, and also it's like you'll see like certain events repeated over the course of the over the course of the series, such as Quentin Quire's encounter with it's like with Iron Man. It's like and then there's also bits such as the such as Reed Richards like showing up and saying, hey, it's like I wanted to be here to to show support for Mutant Time, but I also wanted to tell you this, Professor X.
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't know what he says, but we can assure it's kind of like, yeah, Xavier, suck a dick. So.
Yeah. So, and if you don't know what that's all about, that's because of the confrontation over his son, Franklin, where the X-Men had tried to encourage Franklin to come be on Krakoa, while Reed Richards was actively trying to suppress his powers.
Mm-hmm.
My impression, because I haven't been reading Fantastic Four, is that in the end, Franklin chose to either be depowered or to just because his powers were kind of waning anyway, or just let that be, because he was human when he arrived in the Hellfire Gala.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's also a bit where like we see some of the mutants gambling out on the veranda, and the Thing shows up and he says, "Hey, you throwing some bones without me?" It's like, "Nah, man, that ain't right." So it's like there's some fun stuff there. It's like basically like this is like a great start to the event, because Gerry Duggan basically shows a great observance of like the wider continuity of the Marvel universe, basically showing you how all these characters should interact. It's like there's this one point when it's like when Emma is trying to like be diplomatic in a conversation between Captain America and Doctor Doom, and then like this Shi'ar ambassador shows up. Oh, we've got this stuff you've asked for. Like she's been trying to play the X-Men like universe conquering down, and then this like Shi'ar person shows up saying, "Oh, we've got the stuff you asked for," and Doom just laughs his ass off.
Oh no, what he says, he laughs because he says, "Congratulations on conquering Earth."
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. Yes,
that's why Doom laughs.
Yeah, it's like, and I think I think Duggan has a good idea. Like he as far as like playing into like the overall how everyone is supposed to interact with each other, and that's really played out well here. And also I like the bit with the Sephard Cuckoos basically unlock something within one of the Verendi or the Hellfire Brats like mind, which it's going to play on, obviously going to play into like future issues of Marauders, but at the same time, like this is also an issue that's basically meant to tee off the whole event and just like keep things going. And it does it really, really well, because once you get to the end, once you get past the credits page, actually, then you realize that, oh wow, there's something bigger going on here. So I really like the like how things how this event started, like with this first issue. It's like, and because really this event is all about just like Gerry Duggan basically assuming like the leadership role for the for writing X-Men going forward. So,
yeah. So when you say past the credits page, I'm wondering if I missed something. Are you talking about there's one page where it's basically the end of the gala, it just skips the whole thing, and then there's a conversation between Emma and some, I don't remember which emissary it is, if it's like the ambassador from.
Yeah, it's like 2 pages after the credits page. I'm not talking about the reprint that they do in this issue. I'm talking about just like after they do the credits page, then everyone's like leaving the gala and they're kind of like upset.
Yep, yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, that, and having that there made me want more to read the rest of the story, because it's like, of course, what happened? What was the big thing that caused them to say that?
What were the fireworks about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in a bit. But then there's also what follows is X-Force, and this is actually like the first part of a 2-part storyline, because X-Force is basically here to like keep the peace during the gala, and they're doing that as best they can. But there's 2 complications. One is the fact that, hey, everyone's favorite goofball X-Man, Deadpool, shows up. Because he's like, oh man, why didn't you invite me? It's like, aren't I a mutant as well? And he and Wolverine have a very physical dispute about that. But then there's also the fact that the Terra Verde representatives, well, they've been basically taken over using their Floronics by Beast as part of a hey, I want to make everyone in the world open to X-Men. All the Krakoan ideals and all. So it's like, but apparently like this, he didn't plan things out as well as he should have, because his Floronic coding apparently screwed up, and now the everyone he's encoded to that end is now gone rogue. So it's like
that sounds like a bad idea. And that was the one thing about the Hellfire Gala. Well, I was like, I get that sometimes Beast does things that aren't entirely ethical, or he breaks certain ethical rules. That just seems straight up dumb. That he made that decision to do this at this time.
I'm not gonna argue with you, because like I think, because on one hand I like Beast more as like the like as a smart mansplainer of things, rather than just a someone who's like, oh, I'm gonna do things for the good of everyone. It's like, so this was kind of disappointing, and and I guess we also want to talk about Wolverine. The Wolverine issue of this event as well, because basically this is part 2 of that event, because like they're both written by Benjamin Percy, and they're both concerned like what happens when these Terra Verde like people go rogue, and it's like things don't get quite out of hand. I mean, we get an info page telling us that it's like they demanded certain concessions to prevent them from speaking out about this, but overall it's just kind of like just telling us that, oh, like Beast, yeah, you went out of line, man, that's not cool, and that was it. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but we've kind of already done this before. In fact, a lot of stuff like the big the whole like all new X-Men storyline was also about just Beast deciding like, hey, I'm gonna do things like that you may not decide are cool and all, but I'm gonna do them anyway because I think they're right. So it's kind of disappointing to like have them redo that storyline so quickly and all.
Yeah
But I don't know, it's like not bad, and in fact I think like Deadpool's presence he was kind of fun, because he's just here to just troll. It's like the characters, especially Wolverine, which was fun, and it was kind of fun to see Domino just set him on fire and just like Wade, you're being a dick. So
yeah, I mean he's X-Men adjacent. He feels like, because he was in X-Force for so long, and he's was originally a New Mutants villain, and all that, he feels like he's part of the X-Men, but he's technically not a mutant. He was effectively given his mutant regeneration powers, as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So Krakoa does not regard him as a mutant.
Yeah, but it's still fun to see him just get set on fire and just like throw off like an RPG just for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but speaking of shits and giggles, well, it's like we've got the Hellions issue of the event, which is basically all about like most of the Hellions characters, specifically it's like Grey Crow, Hellion, it's like
Wild Child.
Wild Child, it's like
Nanny.
it's like Nanny and for what was the damn, why am I forgetting the
Orphan
guy's
Maker?
name? Orphan Maker, yeah. It's like all of them basically saying, no, you're just like not like be invited to this. While Sinister, Quanon, it's like and Havoc are all being are invited because like they're just the respectable face of the team. It's like but it's so fun because like after like this that premise lasts for like all of like 6 pages before like Grey Crow says, fuck it, let's go to it's like we're going to the party, man. It's like and Nanny just, like trolls Sinister because he like as he's trying to like make nice with Captain America and Black Panther, and then she shows up and she says like, oh, he's also like a murderer of children. It's like, oh no, you. Yeah. But it's also interesting to see Hellion just like not act like a complete asshole for this. Like he actually like makes Orphan Maker like think like he's drunk without actually getting him drunk, and then actually gets his ass beat because like 2 of the girls that he mind controlled from earlier in the series are here, and they want some payback.
His name is Hellion? I thought his name was Empath.
Oh, that's right. I think it's been both at the same over the course of his tenure. It's like because he's just like gigantic asshole, and he's like the one you always want to see die. I mean, there's a reason he died in the first 2 arcs like of the of this run. So it's like, but also it's also interesting to see like Grey Crow like get closer to Quanon, and also the bit with Quanon like saying, "Hey, hi Betsy," and pursuing, "Hi Quanon," like, and she's telling him that, oh, it's like my opinion of her has changed dramatically, like after like time I dreamt like killing her in a dream for like the past 50 years. So
Yeah.
which is something that happened in the previous arc of Hellions.
Right.
So. Oh, and also the bit with Wild Child, like trying to make nice with Aurora, only to find out that she's like now with Dakin. So that that was interesting. So, but
yeah, I never I'm not familiar with Wild Child. He's new to me in this whole X-Men run, so I don't know where he came from. If he knows Aurora, was he an Alpha Flight character originally?
Maybe it's like I know he's also had a bit in it's like he was also in X-Force for
okay, so
like,
he was a Rob McFarlane creation, probably, wasn't he?
You said Rob McFarlane, so it's like
Rob. It's not McFarlane. Rob. They were Liefeld. I'm sorry. How did I do McFarlane?
It's the 90s. They all blur together like that.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's not fair to Todd McFarlane at all. I'm sorry, Todd. I really, if you're not that he's listening.
Yeah, but it's like I think like Wild Child was meant to be kind of like the another one of those like vicious it's like like Wolverine and Sabretooth type characters, but just like more feral than either of them, which is why we see him why he's been like positioned as that in Hellions, and also just like why we see him act the way he does like here. So, but it was also it was nice to see like Grey Crow just like restrain him once he just like trying to like trying to kill Dakin after like trying to be the alpha.
He is not a Rob Liefeld creation. He is from Alpha Flight.
Ah,
I just looked it
up. Why he knows Aurora then?
Yes.
Apparently, like it was hinted here that it was implied here that like when he knew Aurora, she was in a bad place. So it's interesting to see like see that brought up right here. It's like, and that's one of the reasons I like this I like Hellions because like it both like acknowledges continuity, but also like finds interesting ways to play with it here. So, and which is why I'm sad that it's ending with issue 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, it's like it's also nice, interesting to see like the other Sinister show up at the end of this issue as well.
Yeah, that was surprising. That's the Sinister that died in
Died with air quotes, you're saying?
yeah, quote died in a it wasn't in a month, right?
Yeah, it was. It was on. He basically died on Arakko. Oh, well, we thought that he died on Arakko, but
So
apparently that is not the case.
so a month is the dimension that the island of Arakko was in. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I see. I guess that's it for Hellions, but Excalibur. The next step is Excalibur, and like I gotta admit, it's like I said, didn't read the in between issues for Excalibur, but I will admit that this was kind of interesting in the way it advanced the political and personal storylines with basically between Shatterstar and Richter, and also my God, it's like it was sad to see what happened to Pete Wisdom, but hopefully he'll be rejoining us soon.
I'm not a fan of Pete Wisdom. He arrived after I stopped reading Excalibur, and was made a love interest for when she was still called Kitty, and she was, as far as made sense, still 15 years old because she had just recently had a birthday, and he was in his 20s. So I think the guy is creepy. So,
Man, it's like, well, it's like on one hand, it's like I'd say I want to research that, but at the same time, he's also a Warren Ellis creation.
yeah,
And
it's because Warren Ellis thought that she was in her 20s and she was not.
Oops, but yeah, that's especially not a good look for him right now. But we're not going to go into that. It's at the moment, because that's a whole other can of worms, and I don't want to talk about it.
I apparently haven't heard of that, so yeah, we don't have to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but so what did you think of this issue specifically then?
Man, so I don't remember what happened with Pete Wisdom.
He got sacrificed by Clan Akaba.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay. I'm sorry. See, I'm having trouble because I remember all the events of the Hellfire Gala. I do not remember.
Don't admit that on the podcast.
Don't admit what?
No, it's like just assume that you like that this was all like you knew this before going in hand. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oh no, I'm sorry. What I'm trying to say is the events, I don't apply them to specific issues.
Okay.
Because I just read them all, in the order, and I didn't really pay attention to what issue I was reading, unless I took specific notes. And I do have a specific note on X-Men 21 for when we get to it. But
okay, so this is when basically like, Pete Wisdom was sacrificed because the prime minister the ambassador from Britain basically said, basically told Krakoa, hey, screw you, we're doing our own Brexit. Only it's like a exit of mutant Brexit, Brexit.
Right. The thing that they're upset about is because they didn't like that Captain Britain was a mutant. They wanted Brian back, and so they've had this, they had this uneasy truce for a while. But as soon as Betsy disappeared, they wanted to like take their power back, and they I don't know that it's worship, but they get their power from Morgan Le Fay, and
it's all very British.
Yeah, that's true. After all, Excalibur is set in Britain.
It's like the most British, like it's the most British mutant team. It's always
so yeah. I mean, I don't really have any other specifics to say about this because I don't remember what other events happened.
Were you happy to see Shatterstar and Richter getting back together? Because I've read because like they were established as a couple back in Peter David's X Factor run. So
I didn't read that run. Shatterstar I was aware of. I thought he had a cool design, so interested in the character. I liked what they did leading up to this. The deal, because we haven't mentioned this. Shatterstar was stuck because you didn't read X Factor. That's why you probably don't know this.
I read the first couple of issues, so I know that he was in the Mojoverse.
Yeah,
but
so
I don't know like how he got out of the Mojoverse.
Yeah, they did they break him out, or did they convince him to kill himself and then resurrect him? I don't remember.
Judging by the amount of blood that was on him, like in this issue, I'm assuming that he probably broke out himself.
That's somebody else's blood.
So yeah, I'm assuming he broke out himself.
No, I don't. I don't remember, and I'm sorry that I don't remember this part. But he was specifically brought out because there was a storyline in, I think it was X Factor, that Siren,
that's right. They're talking about that in X Factor. It's like he apparently like fought Morrigan or something.
Yes, yeah. The Morrigan took her over again, and he was brought because he was the only person that could fight. They could kill the Morrigan. So
okay, makes sense. And also, like, I guess it's like since you mentioned you had a special note for X-Men, well, that's the next issue on our list.
Oh, okay. Well, I do want to say you asked me about them being back together as a couple because I never read it. I mean, it's fine. I wasn't aware that they were ever a couple, so I learned that in this comic.
Yeah, it's like, and I think it was nice. I see them back together. So, but as far as X-Men goes, so does your special note have anything to do with Kevin Feige?
Yes, that is the exact note, which I thought it's a little obvious, but it was still amusing. I mean, of course, I'm amused by it, but it's like the writer was basically saying, "Hey, if you want to, you could tell Cyclops' story this way."
Yeah, in fact, I think that there's one of the things about the Hellfire Gala that we haven't talked about yet is that there are apparently a lot of cameos, like visual cameos, like throughout the issues of this event. But I think that the Feige one is like the most blatant because he's the only one that actually has any dialogue, really.
Right. So now I may not have noticed most of these other cameos. I mean, sure, of characters. I saw certain characters, but are you talking about real life cameos?
I think I saw Conan O'Brien in one of these at least.
Oh, jeez.
So it's like, yeah. So like, there's like, I guess depending on how keyed in you are into current pop culture, then yeah, like there's plenty of people for you to recognize here. But Feige is like the most prominent one, and because like I guess like because he's like one that's associated with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like you'll probably recognize his face. And he's also like the only one to actually get any dialogue here. But it's a nice bit where Cyclops basically explains his history. It's like in a very general sense. And it does like have it does square nicely with the introductory bit from Hickman's X-Men 1, where he shows Professor X giving Cyclops his glasses and showing him, this is where things are going to go from here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the issue itself is just kind of like it's just kind of like a jam issue. It's got 4 different artists: Nick Dragotta, Russell Datterman, Lucas Wernick, and Sarah Pichelli, all doing specific stories. Like Dragotta's story basically is all about Namor like saying hi to Charles and Magneto, and basically saying that it's like I know that you got some faces on your quiet council, but you know what? I'm not going to join that because I'm going to be like ruler of the entire world. I don't want to just be the ruler of just one nation, which is very Namor, like of him. So
right, yeah, he rules 70% of the world already. So why would he?
Yeah, and then you've got the bit where we find out like the who's going to be the members of the new X-Men team, which hey, like this is fun. Like, and in fact, I was surprised to remember that. Oh wait, when they say Wolverine, it's going to be Laura Kinney, not Logan. Which this is cool. This is cool because it's like Logan is busy enough on like on X-Force in his solo title. So it'd be cool to see like how Laura interacts with Scott and Jean, as well as like Synch, Sunfire, Polaris, and who else am I missing? I know Rogue as well. So.
Yeah, so I don't remember which comic it was in, but there was a comic leading up to this, that tells a little backstory about Sync and Laura have.
That was Hickman's X-Men.
Okay. So yeah, that I liked that storyline. It was an interesting. I don't know if you want to talk about it now or you want to just.
I think that it was cool that Hickman was able to like tell a story that spanned like several hundred years.
Yeah.
And like establish like a romantic connection between the two, but also just complicating it because apparently Sync remembers everything that happened to him during his time in the vault, but because Laura died getting him out, she doesn't remember anything.
Yeah.
So now it's like he's left, like I just kind of like dealing with like, well, how do I deal with that? I mean, like I know that we're good for each other, but how would I convince her about like how everything we went through in the meantime? So that's a nice good soap opera plot that I want to see developed further in X-Men, which is going to be written by Duggan going forward, because this is basically Hickman's like swan song on X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah, but just like that like Cyclops' big speech at the end. It's basically like Hickman's like saying, I'm out of here for this, like for this ongoing series bit. And if you want to see any more, you're gonna go read Inferno. But we'll get back to that in a bit.
Yeah.
Because the next bit is Duggan's big swing towards showing you where X-Men is going next, and that is planet-sized X-Men.
Oh man. I have some opinions about this. If you want to, you can talk about it if you want, or you can have me talk about it and jump into it. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, it's like I got some opinions as well. It's like, and they also bleed into Sword, as in additionally, because I think, I mean, on one hand, I think this is basically, Planet-sized X-Men is all about the X-Men. It's also about the fireworks of the Hellfire Gala.
Yeah,
and they are like the terraforming of Mars, and it's basically the X-Men using their specific mutant gifts in concert with also certain specific mutants of Arakko to basically terraform Mars in the space of a couple hours. And on one hand, you think that, wow, man, like this is like it's a big flex as far as the X-Men's power is concerned in terms of showing you what their mutants are capable of doing. And I think it's a good extension of showing you what the X-Men are capable of in this current world, and also like escalating the stakes, because this is going to freak a whole lot of humans out, because once they see what the X-Men can do here, they're kind of like, oh man, it's like we got to do some. What are we going to do about the mutants, man? It's like they're terraforming worlds now. But it's also a really clever solution to the idea of like showing mutants as like one of the central power sources in the system. Basically, it's basically a way to like advance to escalate the mutants' power, like they're like show you what they're capable of on a cosmic scale, but also sidestepping the fact that we're not actually dealing with like the fact that Earth is a divided world. So we're just gonna sidestep the fact that the X-Men can't take over the world because it would break the reality of the Marvel universe. But by taking over Mars and terraforming it, they basically find a way to advance the current X-Men story in a way that I think is kind of clever, but is also screaming to be destroyed at a certain point. But also there's some bits here that will be that I think that Sword picks up on very well. But Rob, so you said you had opinions. So,
I have many opinions. Yeah. Well, but first I have a question. While I was reading it, I was kind of in the back of my head, I was like, hey, what about all the stuff they'd already done to Mars in Hickman's Avengers?
Oh, you mean like the gardens there? It's like,
yeah.
I think we're meant to assume that
this is a different universe.
No, it's like it's like Chris remembers like the initial the initial storyline for his Avengers was in this universe on Mars.
Well, wait a minute though. Oh yeah, because they still.
I think we're meant to assume that they departed Mars to to other parts in the universe.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is that is this the same universe with the whole Moira resetting stuff? But since the rest of the Marvel universe was not affected, effectively by Moira's resets, we should assume that everything else did happen.
Mhm.
So anyway, so there was that. That was my first question. But the second thing is, first of all, really cool concept
Mhm.
to just go all out and be like, hey, we can take all these different mutants and we can,
Oh, especially
Storm.
Jimmy Braddock as well.
Yeah, Jamie Braddock, man. I mean, you talk about, because he's a reality warper.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's so crazy to have reality warpers in comics and not really do this kind of stuff with them. But yeah, Magneto gives the planet a larger molten core. Storm creates an atmosphere, all that kind of stuff. Really, really impressive. But and then they move Araco, the island, to the planet.
Mhm.
And remember there were millions of mutants on Araco, right? But
Yep.
there's something about this where it feels kind of, I don't know what the word is. I want to say cheap or that's not a great word for this, but it's the best I can come up with, because we are told there are millions of mutants on Araco, and sometimes we see glimpses of mutants that we don't know anything about, but we don't really get to know any of them. And then they just shift them off Earth. And then there's this brief story early on. I don't remember if this was, when this was, but there's this brief thing in one comic between uh, uh, Ten of Swords and Hellfire Gala.
I think it was like the X-Men issue that followed up on things.
Maybe, yeah, that the islands are there and like they're going to connect again.
Oh, it
But
was
then
definitely the X-Men issue.
yeah, then they drift off, and it's like, oh well, yes, they were together, long ago, and there's like this, like relationship analogy, but they've been apart for so long that they've turned into different people, and they don't really know each other anymore. Blah blah blah. And so it kind of feels like, they have this end. The end of Ten of Swords is, we'll take Araco, and now we'll be rejoined as one, and then that just doesn't happen. But what they do, then they shift Araco to Mars, and now, well, Araco's not on Earth anymore, so they don't have to deal with Araco being on Earth.
Yeah, I think this is just one of those like ideas that Hickman had that a lot of people like thought like, oh man, this is so cool. We're gonna do with it, like, and then they realize like, oh man, this is like too big for us to deal with. So we need to find some way to politely shuttle it off, like,
Right.
into its own thing.
But at the same time, having a mutant planet in the solar system is so dramatic. But I couldn't help but think while it was happening, wouldn't it have been more dramatic if they had moved Krakoa there and made it planet Krakoa?
You're right. It's like I see what you're saying right there, but I think that the idea is that it comes down to like story or logic within the Marvel universe, in the sense that they can't move Krakoa off planet because the X-Men have to stay here.
Yes,
because they're part of the Marvel universe, but they can shift. So yeah, it's like so you see what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but I just wanted to express that it made me think. So like when I read a comic like Invincible, and they can do crazy stuff because he's the only guy that writes it and nobody else has to worry about anything. I have these moments of kind of regret that it's too bad. I mean, I love these characters and I don't want these characters to go away, of course. But I have these moments of regret where I'm like, boy, what a storyline it would have been if they had gone all out. Especially if Hickman's, and this is another thing. What if that was Hickman's original plan?
Yeah, it's like I can see that happening, but at the same time, it's like I get the feeling that like doing something like that would have only like I said the third arc of Hickman's X-Men was supposed to be like Fall of X, so
Right.
like you can only imagine like after that if that had happened, if Krakoa had gone to Mars, it would only be setting itself up to be destroyed, and all the mutants had gone back to Earth as well. Because right now it's like basically we're being set up for like millions of mutants we don't have like a big handle on, maybe killed at some point, just to set up a future threat, because this kind of feels like I would love to see them like dive into this, and I think that Al Ewing is going to do this in Sword, but as of right now, it does kind of feel like, you know, setting up the like like Mars as, you know, planet Araco. It's like is kind of like almost begging for it to be destroyed at some point, just to sell a big crossover size threat at some point down the line.
Okay, and so here's another thing that I want to think about, or I want to talk about related to this. And this is a thing that Hickman has done before. I really like, you know, a lot of what Hickman does, but something that he does in his storylines is he tends to, and this isn't his fault, maybe it's my fault or whatever, but he creates these new characters, right? Mm-hmm. And there's something about them that just doesn't feel to me like they belong in the Marvel universe. I felt that way with the characters in the Avengers. You know, the dude with the Omega on his chest, and the Black Swan, and the you know, the other. There were a group like that, and I feel that way about, you know, it's part of it's the naming, and part of it's the I don't know, something about the, you know, the general tone of the characters. I feel that way about Amenth and Araco and all those characters that were there on that. And so they're on Mars, and it's supposed to be a big deal. And I get that it's a big deal, but I don't care about the characters. I don't even know very many of them.
Yeah, it's like I know what you mean. It's like it just like feels like there's like millions of mutants. Like, but they're all faceless. But at the same time, they're all kind of like meant to be. Hey, you know, it's like if you need a mutant for a specific thing, then hey, just bring one from Morocco. I mean, so Al Ewing did this in his first arc of Sword as well. It's like that's I imagine like what he does right there is probably how they're going to be deployed like in future storylines. You know, before they're killed to sell the inevitable crossover size threat.
Right. So the other thing is once they do that, you know, they declare it Planet Araco. They also declare it, or does this happen in Sword? Or I'm not jumping ahead by saying what they say about Planet Araco.
Well, what are you saying about it? Because
they declare that it's the capital of the solar system.
Oh yeah, it's like that's. I think that's kind of I think that's another clever way of sidestepping the fact that, you know, it's like, oh well, we can't actually have the X-Men take over Earth, but we can't have them declare like, you know, Araco as Planet Araco as like the center of the solar system, because Earth is so divided, but but Mars, it's like, you know, it's like a mutant planet united, so it can speak for the solar system. So I think I'm honestly cool with that, because I think it goes into the whole, like, you know, big flex by the X-Men, and I'm fine with like seeing, like, you know, how are we going to like see them, you know, see the mutants, like, you know, like play out their role as, like, you know, lords of the solar system, because I imagine like this is not going to affect like anyone on Earth in any significant manner.
Right. And I want to say that it's a bold thing to do, and it's cool to see that kind of stuff happen in comics. Mm-hmm. So, you know, for that reason, I support the concept of it, but I have to ask, you know, they know that's going to piss everybody off. I mean, like literally everybody on the planet.
Yeah. We got to see that, you know, like when everyone was leaving, like at the end of like the Marauders issue. So like so yeah, I think it's definitely something that's gonna like have consequences down the line. Even like I said, even if it just comes down to like them like blowing it all up as far as a crossover size threat.
Yeah. Is this the comic that has, or is it Sword or a different one? Is it just this and then Sword and it's done, or is there other comics that I've forgotten the specific?
There's also like after this was New Mutants, X Corp, Way of X, but I don't know how, if you wanted like to burn through these, because like most of these were just kind of like, you know, like using this as kind of like, you know, like fodder for story. Like I mean, like on one hand, like Way of X, the Simon Spurrier written series, like about like where it's Nightcrawler focused one with Legion. And while I like the tie-in issue, the only tie-ins to this were the first couple issues, where it just shows you why Nightcrawler was getting so drunk.
Yeah.
Like, and that was fun. And I gotta admit, it's like I'm on board with this. Like I'm always on board with Simon Spurrier's stuff, but he's also like very much telling a story that is not reliant on this event.
Okay, so well, the reason I was asking that is because there's a conversation between Captain America and Doctor Doom.
That's Sword.
Okay, so I'll wait for Sword when you're ready to talk about that.
But I guess like since I was already talking about Way of X, and he's like I mean that series, as I understand, is like all about like Nightcrawler like trying to solve the spiritual issues, like facing the everyone on Krakoa, and also running into the fact that, oh hey, Legion's back like in this reality, and it turns out that Onslaught, like from the 90s, is also back as a psychic parasite feeding off of everyone here.
So yeah, and that comes about because Kurt feels that there's something wrong, that there are people that are behaving in odd ways. They're being too reckless, they're being too bold, and all this kind of stuff. And he feels there's something missing, or some corruptive force at play. And that's they do research, and Legion discovers that Onslaught is the corruptive force, which I'm not a fan of Onslaught. So
I think it's safe to say that unless you're a fan of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, then no one's a fan of Onslaught.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, why bring him back? I mean, because the whole concept of him is he's supposed to be Xavier and Magneto combined, and since they're present and happy and whatever, I don't see the point of suggesting that Onslaught is a separate being that is somehow still around.
I think it's the idea that like Onslaught is like the worst parts of them combined, and it's like in given form. So on one hand, it's like this is a series that I'm waiting to read in trade paperback, because it's like this is like basically a 5-issue series plus a one shot, and it's also meant to set up another series down the line. So, but Spurrier has always been a guy who was just basically like looked at superheroes and goes like, yeah, you know what, I want to do something different. I mean, this is a guy who wrote a 24-issue run on X-Men Legacy that ended with Legion writing himself out of reality, because he figured, hey, you know what, you guys don't know what to do with me. Fine, I'm leaving. So
that's good.
So that's kind of like what I mean. I like that kind of thing, but and also like Way of X does seem like a way to like give Spurrier a way to interact with the X-Men like titles without, in a way that appeal to his sensibilities. But well, we'll see. Like I said, I'll be probably doing a review like once the series is clicked in trade paperback. But then there's also as far as like the other like tie-ins, there's New Mutants and X Corp. New Mutants, I gotta admit, it's like, as I haven't read the series since it post Ten of Swords, but this series basically gave me the idea that I probably do need to start reading it, because you know what, I care about Gabby, I care about Laura's like little kid sister, so I want to know what's going on here, because this issue is like some bad things are happening here, because apparently she's wise to what the Shadow King is planning, and he's not cool with that.
Yep. Yeah, so she's, her. I was talking about how the New Mutants are training some new Mutants, or the old New Mutants are training new Mutants. Mm-hmm. Those New Mutants include, one of those is Gabby, and the rest of them are the ones that are kind of being manipulated by Shadow King, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
Okay, so I mean, it's like, so did you like the issues that you read?
Oh, I mean, they were pretty good. I wasn't super invested. I don't really know why. I like all the characters and stuff. I just, I don't, maybe the storylines weren't that exciting. The Shadow King is an interest. I guess he's kind of interesting, but I didn't.
Well, it's interesting that they're giving him. They're still, he's got the amnesty to work under, so it's just kind of interesting to see, like, well, is he going to be like reverting to type, or is he actually going to be like working, actually taking a chance to work within, like this new social order? So
right.
The brief glimpse I got of him in this issue suggested that, well, he's not quite reverting to type, but he's also not, like willing to like work with everyone here. Like he still wanted to advance his own agenda.
So there is one interesting thing that is covered in New Mutants,
Mhm.
and that is that the idea of so there's a thing in this X-Men world now called the Crucible, where
Yes.
if you were a mutant that was depowered, you go into the Crucible. Originally you'd fight Apocalypse, but now you get to choose your opponent. And which is kind of weird because, well, what if you kill the other person? That would be problematic. But anyway,
It's full of drama. So
yeah, the idea is then your chosen person kills you, and then you get to come back as with your powers again. Well, in this, there's a group of mutants. That one mutant who was a major storyline early on in this New Mutants run is a reality warper, and she warped her own body because she didn't know how to control her powers. And she's, really weird looking, right? I mean, she's, literally warped. And she wants to be human or to look human again. And if she were to be killed and brought back, she would look normal. She now knows how to control her powers, so she wouldn't look that way. And so she asks to be in the Crucible. And I don't remember which X-Man it is that says no. I think it's Storm. Says, or maybe it's either Storm or Jean Grey, or it's some important, female X-Men member, and says, no, you're beautiful as you are. You're mutant, and that's what makes you, good, and blah blah blah. And she's not having it. And then she's got a couple friends that are the type of mutants that have radically different, body types, where like, one's made out of water and one's like all rocky and stuff. And they were hoping they could do it. And I want to note, as they're doing this over in X-Force, it has been noted that as Quentin Quire gets resurrected, he makes requests to adjust him genetically. So like he no longer needs glasses. He has 20/20 vision because he asked for it. He asked for his hair color to be different multiple times. So clearly they're able to do that, and they're refusing it to these kids, basically. And that's an interesting storyline that, I don't know, it's just interesting to cover that.
Yeah, it's like that sounds interesting. I'm worried that the way you're describing it right there may sound like okay, like maybe the case of the right hand not talking to the left hand here. So
I think that's intentional.
Oh.
I think it's intentional. I think it is about it's a thing about the established X-Men, and well, like X-Force gets to break the rules. They can murder humans. They're also getting, benefits on resurrection. And here are these kids that, he's getting these superficial, like plastic surgery equivalent things. And these kids, have serious, body issues. It's a self-image thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to feel right. And they're refusing him. And so it's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they actually do a storyline that addresses this stuff right there.
Yeah.
So, but I guess, and then there's also X Corp, which is meant to be like the corporate X-Men title, but also appears to have suffered the same fate as Fallen Angels, because it's 5 issues and it's done. So.
Yeah, and I've forgotten what happened in X Corp.
Basically, like Monet and Angel.
Yeah.
Like basically match with Fenris as they try to break into their island on it's like during the gala. It's like, and there's some interesting stuff here, but at the same time, I don't know if we want to get into it, because like this is all the stuff being established here is basically shown to be like a non-starter. Like, I mean, it's fun to see Mastermind basically like show you, hey, I can provide some interesting cover. It's like as someone who can like control your perceptions. It's like, and that was cool. But otherwise, it's like the idea of like what is a mutant corporation just kind of seems to be like posturing at this point. So,
right? Yeah, they hired him for PR. He's PR.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. Hey, if you want someone like like warp your perceptions of reality for PR. Like, hey, it's Mastermind and no one else. But then again, we also saw him do some in a much more interesting fashion in Hellions as well.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But and then also like the next to last important issue is Sword, because basically that's like Abigail Brand basically like telling everyone in the cosmic Marvel sphere, like, hey, this is why the X-Men terraforming Mars is a good thing. And hey, guess what? We also got just a special medal for you guys to amuse yourself with as well.
Yeah, and in doing this is even further beyond just announcing that that planet Araco is capital of the solar system. They are establishing a new currency, and
The
in
soul.
doing so, it's going to give them control of the galaxy. I mean, a greater stake in the galaxy, I should say, instead of control, because this metal has such amazing properties that everybody wants it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, and it's and like I said, it's cool to see Ewing bring in like the like some of the plot lines from his Guardians of the Galaxy run into this series, because if you've read that series, and you should, it's a lot of fun to see, like see how it plays out here, like the Xenox, because seeing the Xenox talking about how, hey, like we're behind this, but also because we know that the that Brand and her team basically like put this person into power as well, and also to see like uh, like a Star-Lord like show up as well as one of the representatives of Spartax, especially once you know what's been going on with him. Oh, and also with Nova, when he's basically questioning, like, why are you speaking for Earth? It's like, when I'm one of the representatives of the Nova Corps. It's like, oh, what were you doing while the king, while Null was taking everyone over in the King in Black event? I was saving 7 billion other people. So please carry on. So yeah, it's fun to see, like him work his storylines in here, and just to give like the mutants more prominence in galactic events, which plays very well. It's in off of what we've been talking about. Like, there's a reason this issue is being collected in the critical spine of issues, like for the softcover edition. And also with it's also fun to see Doom basically challenge, hey, you know what, you've brought in all these new millions of mutants to inhabit Mars, right? How we know this is going to be really divisive, how we know everyone's going to speak for themselves, and then for Storm to show up at the end, it's like, I speak for them. That's badass.
So what Doom basically says is that he wants to talk to the king of Araco, and Storm basically says, I am the regent of planet Araco. Now, I want to say, so I have two things to say about that. If you're going to pick any X-Men character to be, regent of a planet, Storm is my choice. Any person who has been in the X-Men, I'm going to choose Storm. If it had been planet Krakoa, it would be perfect. But why is Storm speaking for Araco? It should have been Apocalypse.
Probably because they've got long-term plans for Apocalypse. Apparently Apocalypse is still in Amenth.
Yes, he is.
So that's the plot reason there. So
yeah, and this Storm being the regent, how did they choose her? Though none of the people on Araco know her. Storm is the perfect person for Earth mutants. Well, but for Araco, that just doesn't make any sense.
I think because what you said, because she is the perfect person to represent them, because she's someone that all the Earth mutants will be willing to trust, and B, she's got a power set that all the Araco will be able to respect as well. I mean, we know that these guys the broad sense of Araco we know is that they're a warrior mutant race. And so when you've got someone who can like, control the weather like in the way that she does, it's like I'm pretty sure that, if she really wanted to, it's like she could like show everyone on the planet who's boss. And I'm pretty
So,
sure
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought the boss was the end of the sentence, but I'm gonna say so. Uh, I get what you're saying, and that I would accept that if they had said it in the comic.
okay, I am feeling enough goodwill to read between the lines here and impose my reading of this. So
Well, I think your reading is great, and I think they should have put it in the comic because it is the perfect reason, and I accept that.
I'm pretty
reason.
sure like once we actually get some storylines involving like Storm like being the regent of Morocco, we'll see that like put into text. But
Yeah.
right, to wrap this up because we're coming close to the end here. Um, the final issue like for this event, X Factor. Well, it's kind of complex because it's both the final issue of the series and also like setting up a crucial storyline to follow out of it. So I will say that like the storylines here do make me wish that I should have invested more time in reading the issues of X Factor prior. I mean, I read some of these like up like prior to this. So I didn't read the ones from Ten of Swords between this point, but I clearly should have because like they set up an interesting storylines, particularly with Prodigy dying and then being brought back and then coming back to solve his own murder. So that was cool. But the real meat of the story here is the fact that it sets up the trial of Magneto, because
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like you weren't expecting like the star of one of Marvel's big TV series of 2021 to be murdered here, but yep, that's exactly what they did to the Scarlet Witch.
I'm upset that about the whole back and forth on. I really want the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver to be Magneto's kids again. I really liked that in the
It can
comic.
happen. It happened.
I hope it does, but I mean, this sure doesn't. I mean, at first I was like, oh well, this is kind of good because it's the way it starts.
In Sword, yeah.
Yeah, there's this scene with them together in Sword that's nice. That being said, I want them to literally be his kids. I think that's more important than him being like a loving father. I want them to literally be his kids because I'm invested in the genetic connection that they have for some reason.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's like they were his kids for like so long.
Yeah.
But and like for them to be retconned out of that just for like purely studio politic reasons.
Yeah,
I mean,
and studio politic reasons that are gone.
Yeah, so like this could, for all we know, at the end of like the trial of Magneto, it could be setting up the reestablishment of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch as his kids. But I also have this nagging feeling that the trial of Magneto may be setting up Magneto as more of a villainous role, because on one hand it's like anyone who has any familiarity with these kind of stories is going to be able to say that but Magneto didn't kill her. But at the same time, I can't imagine that he's going to make like life easy for anyone by just saying that. Like I just imagine like you just being like completely standoffish about this and just be saying like, "What, you think I did it? No, fuck you, man." So that's
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just like I just get the feeling that like Magneto is just like going to be like probably very standoffish throughout this whole event, and like this could be like I said, this could be the way that it establishes him as being a major X villain again, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, the way he talks about her, only pretty much calls her the pretender and all that kind of stuff prior to this. Just his general attitude towards her and the way he feels about the mutant race. If she really isn't a mutant and she really did what she did, then it fits his character to murder her. I'm gonna say that it does. His long-term character, because what she did, it was genocide. I mean, not in. I mean, it's not really genocide. You just depowered him, but 2 mutants in the comics, that is effectively genocide. And the way Magneto feels about genocide because of his past experiences, she's like Hitler. And I hate using that analogy because that seems, but to him personally, it's like that.
Everything you said makes perfect sense. I just can't agree with it because it's like the setup is that he killed her, and we all know that has to be wrong.
Yeah, of course, because it's too obvious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I will say it's definitely like an interesting note to end the event on. But it's an expected note to end the event on because hey, it sets up the next storyline. And I gotta admit, it's like like I said, it wasn't like not all the issues here were home runs, but I do think it did the event itself did a great job of like setting up the X-Men status quo and showing us a way forward for future stories with them. It's like I feel very good about where Gerry Duggan is going to take the series here, particularly with his issues as well.
Something that we should mention because I don't remember if it happened during this or if it was in the lead up, but it's important for the future. Is that all along there have been 2 people or 3 people. There have been 3 different characters asking for loved ones to be resurrected, and they have been put off at every turn.
Only one of these probably sounds like it's going to be like plot relevant specifically.
Well, one isn't that plot relevant probably, which is it's Ron, the New Mutant, Wolfsbane's son.
Mm-hmm.
But the other 2, both are very plot relevant. Mystique and Destiny. Mystique wants Destiny brought back.
Yes, this is true. It's like, and I'm gonna assume the other one you're talking about is Havoc and
yes.
Goblin Queen.
Yes.
Okay, I think that that's gonna be addressed in the final issues of Hellions. But I do know that Mystique and Destiny is going to be like a critical thing for Inferno. Which at one hand, I just want to say that it's like I think that like Xavier and Magneto's like manipulation of her is awful. It's like had they it's really very dumb on their part because they should have known that Mystique just can't be trusted.
Nope.
And they should have just thrown her in the pit with Sabretooth at the start of things. But they thought they could use her, and now they're going to pay the price. Big time.
Yeah, although I do want to say, why wouldn't they want to try to get the precog on their side? So I remember. Is it okay if I? Are we going over time? I'm sorry.
We're coming up on the very end. So
okay, I just want to say this little thing, which is, way back in House of X and Powers of 10, it was established that in Moira's third life, Destiny told her that she was going to try to kill Moira in all of her lives. But that was because Moira had developed a mutant cure.
Mm-hmm.
And Moira's not interested in curing mutants anymore. So why would Destiny want to kill her now?
That's a good point. So maybe it's like this is something that Hickman will pick up on, like in Inferno, or it's like as we were talking about, prior to the show. It's like, this is like Inferno is Hickman's swan song for the X-Men because apparently all the X-Men, all the X writers basically said that they really liked working within his current storyline in terms of everyone living on Krakoa and the mutants doing all these big power flexes. So Hickman read the room and basically said, okay, it's like, it's probably we're not gonna do my whole plan for this. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna leave here. But Inferno is basically gonna be the storyline that wraps up all of his specific plot lines that he'd been doing. So it's possible he could do that, but also it's been talked about that he's going to continue working with Marvel and especially with Chris Bacalo on a new series. So it could be, for what that series is, we don't know. for all we know, it could be like, the 11th life of Warrior McTaggart. Like, she could die in Inferno, be reborn, and then maybe he'll get his his own series to talk about, like what he would have done, with like, if he hadn't, had to like, work with all these other writers and all. So, but that's speculation. But I will say that, like, as it is, like, Hellfire Gala does a great job of setting things up for future X-Men stories. I mean, no, not everything like hits the mark, but as far as like, saying that the direction of the X-Men is now like in Gerry Duggan's hands, well, like, I honestly got to say I feel pretty good about that, based specifically on his Marauders and Planetized X-Men like stories. There's some pretty good stuff, and I want to see where he's going with this new team.
Yeah, I mean, I can support that. I was really hoping that Hickman would get to do his whatever his vision was. Hopefully, you're right about that other series. But he's I'm sorry, Gerry Duggan, right? He's really good. Everything that I've read of his, I've enjoyed. So I think it's in good hands, regardless.
Okay, so you're interested in coming back to talk about Inferno and the Trial of Magneto once they're wrapped up?
Oh yeah, so I'm definitely going to be interested in Inferno, because when I started reading comics, it wasn't long after I started reading that it led into the original Inferno storyline. So that's like it's going to address a storyline from my I don't want to say childhood, from my teenage years, early teenage years. So I'm definitely interested in that. Trial of Magneto. I want to see how that plays out. We'll have to talk about that.
Okay. And so, yeah, definitely look forward to having you back for that, Rob. But also, sooner than that. So, I mean, this isn't like, right now or like the next one. But I mean, I know you've been reading Immortal Hulk. I've been reading Immortal Hulk. So I imagine you got some thoughts on that too.
Oh, absolutely. What an incredible comic book series. I'm behind on it. I got to catch up. But I will be able to quickly, because, hey, it's just one comic.
Yeah, it's not like a whole line like X-Men. So.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So, I mean, yeah. Definitely look forward to having you back for that, Rob, at some point.
Oh, I'd love it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, man. John?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, now you've piqued my interest about this, the Trial of Magneto. So I'm just kind of interested in how they're going to play that out. So yeah, I got some catch-up reading to do.
All right. Let us know what you think, man.
All right, definitely. All right. Hey, thanks, guys. And we'll talk to you later on Comic Picks by the Glick.
Right. Laters.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.